All right, we are back. I apologize. We had a power surge. Not sure where that.
That is correct.
As the former state health commissioner, when you see what we are dealing with throughout this country, how do you see that? How do you see us? Let me just say it from my perspective. I don't see us coming out of all of this just like that. I see the African American community or the minority community being a little more cautious than everyone else to actually start going to Starbucks. What do you think?
I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, this notion that just by simply reopening the economy, that if you open it, they will come is just wrong. We know that people are still very fearful, and they have a right to be. They've read the CDC reports and the reports elsewhere. They know how contagious the coronavirus is, and they are worried. So you're going to see a reluctance on the part of many people, especially those of us who are over the tender age of 45 or 50, being a little bit more reluctant to rejoin the restaurants and the movie theaters and the other venues that we've enjoyed in the past. So I do think that we have to begin thinking about the new normal that we're going to have as a result of COVID. Even in the best case scenario, we are not going to have treatment and vaccine for likely to more than a year. And that means that social isolation, distancing, protection with masks, hand washing, all of those things are going to be with us for quite some time. And I think that means that we've got to find better ways to quickly adjust our economy so that people are not as stressed as they are today. Pastor, we've got a 20% unemployment rate at the minimum in Indiana right now. We know that disproportionately affects the African American community because we are in many of the essential jobs that we are on the front line. So in that respect, we're going to be more at risk. We're more likely to get the disease. But at the same time, those of us who were in marginal employment to begin with, or who had 2 or 3 jobs and is now down to 1 or 2, or who were getting overtime and now are not getting overtime, all of those things are going to impact the African American family. I worry about domestic violence going up. I worry about all of the things that can continue to harm our community. So we've got to work together collaboratively, and we've got to have leadership at the State House who is very sensitive to those things and pushes the right agenda to minimize that effect on the African American community especially, but also builds the state for the future. The changes that we need in our education system are right in front of us. The changes that we need in our infrastructure for public health are right in front of us. All we have to do is pick up the mantle, put the money where it should be, put the people where they need to be, and get this change moving. And that's why I'm running for governor. I know that in my career for the last 30 years, I've had public, private sector, business experience, healthcare experience, all of which can be applied to both the COVID-19 pandemic and to the tragedy that we have with respect to race relations in Indiana and the nation as well.
So I know you have an agenda. You have a platform.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to jump into this because I know we don't have that much time. So I want to get into this because I want to understand. You have mentioned that education, and if I'm not mistaken, you have been heavily involved in education in the city of Indianapolis, and so I do want to understand a bit more about your agenda when it concerns public education and investments, especially again, I know I've got a 13-year-old son that I'm concerned about who had to finish out his schooling online. Now we're talking about how are we going to go back? And we found out from COVID and this social distancing that there were a lot of disparities within our public school system that raised up their heads when, everybody had to start all of a sudden go online. What does that investment in education look like from your agenda?
Well, your son is fortunate that he had a father that wanted him to succeed, that was able to provide him with the online access with the computer so that he could work online. Not everyone, especially in our urban areas, is as fortunate as your son in that respect. I have heard from many different people on this issue. We were not prepared from a hardware perspective or a software perspective to get our students, our teachers online. We made an assumption as a state that everybody had Wi-Fi access, which of course is just not true. I've heard from owners, for instance, of some of the McDonald's restaurants who have free Wi-Fi, have kids hanging out outside the restaurant to get the free Wi-Fi so they can go online and do their homework and meet with their teachers. All of those are things that have to be addressed and have to be addressed urgently in our communities, and I will do that as the next governor of the state.
In addition to those things, again, you have a platform. What are some of the other concerns that you have as you head into this election that you want to see either changed, or gaps that you'd like to see filled, or things that you consider that are important for our communities holistically, as well as the African American community specifically, to focus in on?
Well, with respect to our education agenda, we've got to get teacher salaries up for public school teachers. We used to be one of the higher states. Now we're at the very bottom of teacher salary increases. We've got to get rid of the incessant teaching to the test mentality that we've had with the failure of iStep and iLearn. We've got to let teachers do what they've been trained to do, which is to educate students, not try to teach to the tests. We've got to give support to our school districts in ways that we haven't in the past. We're forcing them to create referenda to get paid, to get their projects completed. The state of Indiana has a responsibility to fund school districts adequately. We've not done that. We changed the funding formula back in 2005 to reward the rich and punish the poor. In a Myers-Lawson administration, we'll do everything we can to reverse that and to make sure that the public schools are funded appropriately. So in education, those things disproportionately will help African Americans. In healthcare, our healthcare infrastructure must be improved. Prescription drug prices have to come down. We have to use our state's Medicaid program better than we've done in the past to make sure that for those of us who are under the federal poverty limit, they get access to the services that are vitally needed. And for everyone else, there's enough access to the primary care that they want to have to get their hypertension, diabetes, et cetera, treated properly so that our morbidity and mortality rates come down as well. So it's jobs, it's education, it's healthcare, it's the environment. Those are the issues that our campaign cares the most about. Those are the issues that disproportionately affect the African American community, and those are the issues that I am promising to prioritize if the voters will give me that opportunity this November.
Wonderful. Now you do know that State Representative Robin Shackelford and the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus has planned several, if not a couple, conversations that they're having with the community about their agenda and what they're going to be bringing to the State House in January. What would you say to the community as they begin to gather around each other and around what those agenda items need to look like? What would you be saying to the community as we begin to think through what are the pressing legislative agendas that the African American community or the community of color should be thinking about as we head into the January session?
Well, the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus has always had terrific leadership and has always had its finger on the pulse of what we need in Indiana, what we need to change. I know that they've put out their preliminary agenda for what we want to do in 21, and I know that in July they're going to put out a more detailed version of that. Everything I have seen in that agenda those are items that we have to go after. By the way, I also noted that there's an agenda for Indiana listed under uniteforchange.org. And on there, I think there's 67 different recommendations.
It's actually 64. It's 64 recommendations.
I 67, but maybe my count is wrong. There are some that I think have already are being addressed. There are some that should be addressed. And just looking down the list, there are many that I could automatically agree to and agree with and would prioritize. Some would need to be fleshed out a little bit further to understand the direction that they should take. But nonetheless, I'm glad that uniteforchange.org is on the case, is pushing for change, is bringing people into the discussion, the conversation. And I look forward to the opportunity to continue to learn from your millennial audience and the other audiences that you're bringing in as the state moves its agenda forward.
Yeah, that group includes my daughter, who you just saw stick her head in. She is actually chairing the upcoming Urban Servant Leadership Unconference that will be virtual on August the 15th. So as you say, we must engage our entire community in this conversation. I know that there are matter of fact, there's some State House internships that are coming up that we want to make sure that our students are taking advantage of those internships to understand the process, to understand what you do, what your role is, and how your role is impacted by the role of our senators, our congressmen, our state legislators, our state representatives. And so we do need to engage with everyone. And so as you brought that up, I do want to make sure that everyone knows you can go to uniteforchange.org, and there is a Gaps and Overlaps web page. You click on that, read more to Gaps and Overlaps. And what we're trying to expose, Dr. Myers, is that and we'll go with your number because I know you're smarter than I am, and so I know you can do a whole lot better than me on counting. But I want our community to know what those demands are, what the agendas are, and what organizations are representing those demands and those agendas. Because we cannot, as a community, we cannot fight for something when we don't understand what we're fighting for, right? We can't represent an agenda that we aren't clear about. And so this is why we put that together. And I'm thankful that you were cognizant enough to go to the page and say, hey, they've got some lists here. Now it needs to be organized, it needs to be quantified, it needs to be categorized and put into immediate, short-term, mid-term, long-term, but at least we can go somewhere and look and see what people in our community are fighting for. And I really want to thank you for at least taking the time to go there and recognize that, yeah, there's some agenda items. Some things we can do now immediately. Some things will take legislation. Other things will take policy change. Some things will take more marching and more protesting. But at least as a candidate, I respect the fact that you have taken a time to look and to understand what the people in our community are saying is important.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, I am a candidate, but most importantly, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a physician, I'm a former health commissioner, and I'm a third-generation Hoosier. And I care about our state. I want our state to do better. I know we can do better, and with folks like yourself and your daughter and others working on those very important agenda items which are absolutely directionally correct, we can make the progress that we need. So I want to thank you very much for this opportunity this afternoon. Today is the day of the Indiana State Democratic Party convention, so there are a lot of competing activities during the day. And I'm going to have to mosey on over to some of those activities as well. But it's been an honor to share a few minutes with you, Pastor. Please keep up the fight. We need your leadership in our community, and we need your voice.
Well, thank you again for showing up, and I'm gonna actually give you applause. I just got to give you some applause because I just thank you for joining in with us. And so everyone just know we're going to take another pause. We have another interview that's getting ready to kick off with D. Ross, with Ross Foundation. And then we also have a young lady, Rain Wilson, who will be coming in talking about what Indiana Black Expo is doing on their agenda as well, so that we can all stay informed. Again, Dr. Myers, thank you. All the best to you. We hope to see you back on the program another Saturday. And we're about to go to a countdown for another 5 minutes. So y'all stick and stay close. We'll see you in just a few minutes. ultimate goal of the Urban Servant Leadership Unconference, we want to be able to bring together as many pieces of the puzzle as we can so that ultimately we put together a picture that helps us see and to understand what a valuable, sustainable community needs to look like.
I'm here because my personal life mission is to help others help themselves. It's the epitome of what servant leadership is all about.
So I wanted to come to the Unconference today so that I could discuss the Healthy Indiana Plan, which is a healthcare plan that's available to folks between the ages of 19 and 64 who have incomes at less than 138% of the federal poverty level.
My name is Anita Adams. I work with Indianapolis Healthy Star. We know that there are inequalities that are happening in our community, and we work to reduce those for families.
You have to be called to be a servant leader because you know that you are going to give and you may not get anything in return, and that's okay. An urban servant leader is called to do what we do.
You should really research it. If you are not here, I urge you, I cannot say this enough, that you need to come to the next conference.
All right, everyone, this is Pastor G with Community Conversations. Just wanted y'all to know it is time for me to take a little bit of a break. They're actually letting me take a break. Can you believe it? They're letting me take a break. That's like crazy that they're letting me take a break. So I'm going to get a break. At 1:30, we're going to come back with D. Ross. And again, at 3 o'clock, we're going to come back with Rain Wilson with Indiana Black Expo. She'll be in at that time. And so I'm going to go ahead and take a break. But here's what I want. For all of those who are with us right now, let me see. Yeah, we've got several of y'all who are on right now. I see Lisa Whitman. I see Faith Moore McKinney. I see Mike Galding, my good friend Mike. God bless you. I see you. I also see a few other people who have been joining with us today. God bless y'all. Lisa Whitman, yeah, she's talking to me on all of my social media. I see Angela Shine. God bless you. Thank you for hanging out with us. I also see Tabitha Hunt. Now, I want everyone to do what Tabitha Hunt did. Tabitha Hunt jumped on over to our Unite for Change website. She jumped over to our Unite for Change website and she RSVP'd for the upcoming virtual Urban Servant Leadership Unconference. Our upcoming virtual Urban Servant Leadership Conference. If you have not RSVP'd, I'm telling you right now, we're opening this thing up nationwide. Just like you saw some voices come in from Memphis, Tennessee today, we're going to have voices from all over the country come to bear and come into Indianapolis, Indiana to help us understand what it is that we can do better to make sure that we can transition from a moment to a movement. Like, what do we need to do to ensure that this movement continues to move forward? How do we need to rank and order and categorize all of the agenda and the demand items that we have for our community? The only way we're going to do that is we're going to have to continue to communicate with one another. That's what community conversation is about, and that's what our Urban Servant Leadership Unconference is about. So I want you to jump over there, RSVP right now for the Unconference. Just go to uniteforchange.org. Let's see, right there. uniteforchange.org. Go to that website, hit that RSVP, and make sure that you are registered. Now, once you get that done, don't stop there. Share that information with someone that you know who desires to see change, who desires to see economic inclusion, economic development, just criminal justice reform, healthcare improvements, education reform. If you want to see positive momentum and change in our community, you must be aware of what is going on, and that's what we are trying to do with Unite for Change. So go on over there, RSVP for the Urban Servant Leadership Unconference, and then share that information with everybody that you know, so to make sure that, watch this, make sure we don't have everybody from all over the nation at the Urban Servant Leadership Unconference and Indianapolis is not there. That will make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So y'all make sure that we are present and we are represented in our own backyard at our own event, all right? I want y'all to do that, and just remember, we'll be right back at about 1:30 with D. Ross from the Ross Foundation, 3 o'clock with Rain Wilson. She'll be back with the Performing Arts Academy. They're doing great things for young people over at Indiana Black Expo. I am a product of the Indiana Black Expo Youth Telecommunications Workshop from back in the day. I am a product from back in the day. So y'all make sure y'all come back for that. But for right now, we're going to sign off. I'm going to take a break, run upstairs, get myself something to drink. and then I will be back at 1:30 with D. Ross. All right? God bless y'all. I'll see y'all a little later. Peace.